Welcome back, everybody. Oh boy. Okay, so I was looking around at the end of the last video, which I completed the game, for time loops. Well, apparently, it's not time loops that I need to close. There is none left. I just need to go around stage to stage and kill all of the enemies. To the point to where when I go to the APC here to select to transfer to another level, but when I highlight over the level that I'm in, it'll say clear. Now, this one does not say clear. So once you kill the remaining ones, they stay dead. So, and I read online, people were like, oh yeah, it's just hard to, like, some people were like looking around and everything, and then they well, as I was saying, they look around every nook and cranny and rooms and that, and sometimes they often like miss one little tiny room where there may be like one or two enemies. So you literally got to search up and down every single area that you don't have cleared. Like, I know I have Hollow Mist, or Mist Apollo, or whatever the like the last place you unlock is, opened. And what happened was, somebody was like, yeah, I went looking for this, could not find the, no. I'm trying to think of the name. They were trying to find somebody, and they were like, yeah, there was like one area where you climb up a ladder, and there was an enemy up there, and they did not know that because he was silent or something like that. And when they killed him, trophy popped for platinum. Because it's basically the last trophy you will get in this game. So, I am... There is an item I did not get in here. I could have sworn I got it, but maybe I got it and I just didn't save. And I was like, oh, I'll get it the next time I stream. And then I didn't. Excuse me. Because it sounds familiar. Hold on here. There we go. Toggle light. So now the question is, do I gotta kill? I remember coming back in here one time before, I thought, and the enemies did not come back to life. So, hold on. I should go back this way. Oh, I can. This will make things so much faster. But I should go the other way because then I can find out if the tower is cleared or not. I just wish there was a way that I could like view what it is that I have and then be like, yes, this is clear. But I have to do it through the APC. Okay. All right. Because what I need is actually up above here. So you come out from there, up here apparently. There we go. There it is right there. Let's take this view in one last time, shall we? You know what would be pretty cool? If you played like a Souls-like game that every single time you die, a flag will go on a pole to an X amount of times until it goes to another pole, and then another pole, another pole, another pole, another pole. Just to indicate like how many times you died in the game. But then again, you know, it could look as beautiful as this. Alright, here we go. Crown of Bones. Okay, this doesn't look familiar. Sounds familiar though, but maybe not. A headdress constructed of human finger bones. I'm not gonna lie, this actually looks pretty sick. Oh man, what a bummer. The reason why I say what a bummer is because I got to search this whole entire place again. I was gonna do it on stream, but I don't know if that's really wise, to be honest. It may be really boring to the point to where it's just like nobody really wants to watch that. It's not like you get to see the trophy pop or anything. Because after I get this next item, then I'll have the write-up done, and then I should just need one more trophy, and that's basically to clear the last half of the map that I have left of enemies to kill. So with that being said, yeah, I can keep them that way, but oh well. So anyway, like I said, it's just... It's like I said, it's just one of those things where it's just like, that's all it is. Just me looking every single room, every single area, just to be sure that there is no enemies left. And whatever. So... Will I get the platinum for sure? Yes. But I just won't do it on stream because there's no need to. Just gonna make sure that it's clear here. Now, where did I miss the last item? You may all be wondering. Well, funny enough, the very, 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 very beginning of the game. I know, right? Okay, I heard something. Where are you? You gotta be like dead on to like where you're like searching. Because if I didn't hear him, I wouldn't have known he was there. I just wish there was something in the game that would indicate to you, like, yes, this area is done, besides going to the APC. Imagine going all the way to the top of the tower, and then finding out you still have, like, somebody left to get, and you don't know where. Yeah, that would be really annoying to do. Anyway. Yeah, right back to the very beginning of the game. To where the opening cutscene finishes. Can't believe that. I was like, seriously? Now, the other thing I can understand, but anyway. See? Right down there. Gold medallion. What does it say anyway? In solemn tribute to our noble queen and the mightiest of her works, which yet endures unyielding and tall above the trees and the years. 969. Magical number. Except for the first 9 part. And the last 2. Now, I have to go take these to the APC. There was never any enemies here in that first part. So, it's good to know You didn't need to check there. It was pretty much beyond this gate. I think I'm good, to be honest. As long as there's no enemies in the... What's that section called? The first section there that collapses. So when you run into these demons. We'll see if it's this clear. I doubt it. Oh, my luck. So I didn't give it the full over. Yeah, see. Good grief. So that's clear, thankfully. Clear, clear, clear. Not clear. Clear. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 places. And I cleared out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah. I cleared just under half. Or, yeah, around the halfway mark anyway. This is going to be a short check. Some of them aren't really so bad because all you got to do is just like go around and check rooms and stuff like that. Like Senin isn't too bad. Vista Hills, I mean, God knows where the enemies could be there. So annoying. Hate the thing there. Insert Steve Gull. Ah! 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 Hey, Kiwi Mama. Anyway. Alright, time to get into reading mode.
Let me know if you need more info.
Alright. Trophy.
Good find.
Gentleman Scholar. Bronze trophy achieved. Gold Medallion, Order of the Eye. Notes. This gold medallion once belonged to a founding member of the Order of the Eye. It depicts the moment that the 8 scholars rediscovered the Eye of God. They were said to have dropped to their knees in awe at the sight of such a marvel. 8 matching medallions were commissioned to commemorate the momentous event, one for each member. How we doing? Not bad. I finished the game last stream, which was 2 days ago, and now I'm just doing the wrap-up of lore from reading these items and going to get the last little bit of items I need. And, yeah. So, yeah, woke up about an hour ago. Feel... Well, the last 3 or 4 hours of my sleep were, like, the best part. And I feel, like, pretty refreshed. Even though I'm just yawning. Excuse me. But, yeah. Hope your day is going well so far. Alright. Time to read. I finished
my first draft on the Order of the Eye.
The Order of the Eye, manuscript draft by Tanya Alver, January 1993. Haitians lived under a heavy-handed theocracy that ruled with an iron grip for centuries. This powerful religious elite only seemed to fill their coffers with gold and their bellies with hard-earned harvests. Many scholars consider this period of Haitian history as the darkest, and that is saying something. You know the saying, every revolution is only 3 meals away. This one was no exception. However, unlike most, this uprising didn't start with a sword, but with a pen. In 400 AD, a young man named Go dared to write a thesis demanding religious reform and separation of state and religion. This idea sent shockwaves across the land and caused many to question their theocrats. I could be saying that wrong, but anyway, the power is addictive and seems impossible to let go of. The response of the Illigad conclave was nothing short of excessive cruelty, torturing and burning anyone at the stake who questioned their authority. However, the brutal response only seemed to fuel the revolution. Several noble houses raised their armies and declared themselves Sabinian reformists, while others declared themselves Palamist traditionalists, remaining loyal to the conclave. In 404 AD, I guess apparently that 404 was found. Anyway, in 404 AD, both armies stormed the field in Vista Hills. The battle lasted 3 days long. The reformists were victorious, and sadly, this was only the beginning. The revolution died that day, only to be replaced by a cruel and bloody civil war that would last over 200 years. On the brink of a complete collapse of Haitian society, 8 brave souls, 4 Palamists, and 4 Sabinians risked everything to conspire for peace. Unending conflict in the guide of lucidity. On the scale never before seen, cruelty and wickedness deeply scarred the population on both sides. Extreme acts of barbarity and savagery were commonplace, and the country was trapped in a never-ending cycle of destruction. The war raged across the land for 200 years with little repose. Deeply rooted hatred and the thirst for shedding the other side's blood seemed inconsolable. Desperate times called for desperate measures. 8 scholars from both sides of the conflict worked together, setting aside old hatreds to form the Guild of Lucidity. This guild operated with the utmost secrecy. If discovered, the Sabinian conspirators would have been hanged and quartered, while the Palamists would have been burned at the stake. They had a new enemy to fight. From the horrifying barbarity of the last 200 years, it was clear to them that the human emotions and passions were the root cause of horror and misery. The curse of Tiar had run amok far too long. The guild's members looked to the old scriptures for answers, but after searching through old books, scrolls, and clay tablets, they only found a series of dead ends. Many years passed, and just as the Guild of Lucidity was about to give up, an ancient clay tablet was uncovered, almost by accident. Etched on it was a passage that strongly suggests that the Eye of God was, in fact, real. As the Kata states, the Eye of God was a gift left behind by Cetharus to rid humans of the effects of the curse at Tiar. Could this myth be true? Could the eye be found? Could its mythical and symbolic powers be the solution to peace? The Order of the Eye. With renewed hope, the Guild's members feverishly investigated the past to find more clues. They searched the church's holy libraries and private collections, examined ancient art and artifacts, and rummaged through old ruins and sacred sites. After several years, their efforts paid off. Etched in the weathered and heavily eroded rocks of an old megalithic site, a map of sorts was barely visible. Carved in the stone was a faint depiction of the Eye of God surrounded by worshippers. Above the eye towered a very distinct mountain. This representation could only be in one location, Mount Obek. Near the summit, the guild found an entrance to a strange and eerie place. Beyond the entrance was a series of cyclopean mazes that were arduous and complex to navigate and took the scholars a few years to figure out. After navigating through the maze, they finally discovered the Eye of God. Upon this remarkable discovery, the Guild of Lucidity changed their name to the Order of the Eye. The scholars of the Order of the Eye soon experienced the Eye of God's power. According to several accounts, they all felt utterly devoid of emotion, being instead aware of an intense and sharp sense of clarity and rationality. After several years in the presence of the Eye of God, studying and researching, they noticed that it has cyclical nature. Its power seemed to disappear only to come back several years later. They began to time its cycle and correlate its sequence to other natural cycles, but nothing matched. The scholars also realized that the eye's effects on people's emotions barely exceeded the eye of God's chamber. The Order of the Eye knew they couldn't invite the entire country into its chamber. The scholars devised a plan. The Eminous Shroud. Scholars, alchemists, apothecaries, and other men and women of different disciplines began to experience with the Eye of God. They wanted to increase its range, expand its emotion, canceling effect. To stop the carnage, the scholars had to endure the eye's impact could reach the entire population. Only then could they use the Eye of God to neutralize their fellow citizens' passions and emotional excesses and stop the war. They began to pinpoint and predict its cycle. After several such cycles and years of research, the group finally created a machine to increase the widen the eye's power. The Eminous Shroud. The religious wars ravaging the country were now running at an all-time high. The scholars impatiently waited for a subsequent activation of the Eye of God, and when it arrived, they turned on the Eminous Shroud. People across the country felt its effect in the blink of an eye. However, deep beneath the mountain, the Eye of God began to hum and vibrate at a different pitch. The Eminous Shroud had worked, and the Eye of God widened its gaze across Hadia. Unforeseen side effect. The scholars activated their device, augmenting the eye's emotional dampening effect. It was a success. The war had stopped partially due to the effects of the eye, but there was another unexpected reason. Time loops. Scholars describe them as moments of boundless human horror and violence caused by a euphoria of destruction emotions trapped in an endless cycle. The people inside are cursed to relive the hideous acts of barbarity over and over. Time loops had appeared throughout the country. This unforeseen side effect was an unmitigated disaster. They had stopped the war, but at what cost? All they knew was that the Eminous Shroud, their range-expanding device, certainly caused it. The scholars of the Order of the Eye panicked. They were too late when they returned to the Eye's chamber to disassemble their device. It had disappeared. The scholars had no choice but to find a way to stop the time loops. Many attempts at stopping them ended with disastrous results. They seemed impossible to stop. Scholars were on the verge of giving up until they discovered a strange new substance. This material would vibrate softly when in proximity to time loops. The scholars used the substance to create what they called an amine prism, and after several tests, the scholars conclude that someone had to bring a prism to the center of the time loop to destroy them. Brave souls called proto-martyrs sacrificed themselves to shut down the time anomalies. After stopping numerous time loops, the scholars provoked another unforeseen side effect, and the first limbic invasion began. The first limbic invasion. Creatures of unspeakable horror leaped out of the time loops, ferociously defending them. The reformists and the traditionalists were losing villagers, farmers, and soldiers. It was time to put aside old hatreds and form a military coalition. An entire army of former enemies, Palamus and Sabinians, charged the monstrous beasts. After several assaults and losing hundreds of soldiers, they killed only one creature. Demoralized and badly beaten, the soldiers took defensive positions. The scholars returned the creature's corpse to a secret location where they examined it. They discovered a strange material, limbic shards. A strange alloy within its remains. They summoned the most reputable blacksmiths of the land. They developed a unique and astonishing new type of blade from new material. They called them limbic weapons. The blacksmiths were sworn to secrecy and brought onto the Order of the Eye. They built a well-hidden location where they could craft these new weapons. It came to be known as the First Limbic Forge. Proud blacksmiths identified themselves as the Anvils of Modus after the leader Calvin Modus. They worked the forge tirelessly and forged and produced many of these new weapons to help fight the invaders. The Order of the Eye needed a cast of warriors. The Full Guard was created to protect the Order of the Eye and help destroy time loops and the creatures protecting them. The Order of the Eye devised a plan for the country to truly band together and end the prospect of future religious wars for good. Scholars would provide limbic weapons to both sides and let them annihilate the monstrous invaders together as one. Scholars secretly and purposely left limbic weapons in known holy sites across the country on both sides, manipulating the people's religious beliefs. They united their forces and put these divine gifts to good use. The beast's numbers dwindled, and that night the scholars sent their brave proto-martyrs into the time loop, shutting them down one after another until there were no more. The first limbic invasion had gone. The Order of the Eye had lost control. Their device, which had caused the calamity, had merged with the Eye of God. They didn't understand why or how it happened, but they couldn't access it anymore. The scholars knew it wouldn't be the last invasion. They looked to the future with a deep sense of foreboding. Had they damned Hadia? The subsequent invasions. The scholars of the Order of the Eye diligently continued their research into the Eye of God. They attempted to regain control of the Eminence Shroud, but all their efforts and hard work yielded no results. The only thing the scholars could do was continue developing and improving limbic weapons and train their Full Guard for the inevitable. The scholars and Full Guard infiltrated the highest spheres of Hadean society to maintain order and stability. Their Full Guard would thwart uprising, civil unrest, and all-out wars through manipulation and espionage. They had become ruthlessly efficient and highly resourceful. They had successfully prevented several invasions, however, they weren't always successful. The Order of the Eye and their Full Guard couldn't stop Lord Aster's ambitions to conquer Hadia for himself. They failed to thwart the rebellion against Lady Marguerite's iron grip over her people. They fell short when it came time to stop one of their own from forming a fanatical cult. They failed to prevent the Blood Queen's wrath against the Sabinians. Despite their vigilant interference, the time loop limbic entities made their grim appearance, devastating Hadia each time. They inflicted heavy losses amongst Hadians and Full Guards. The future was bleak. Indeed, the Order of the Eye needed a less costly solution. They decided to rule the country themselves. Achieving peace. The Order of the Eye began its rule in 950 AD by maintaining a masquerading monarchy they controlled entirely, with members acting as king and queen. They would reinstate both religions with new leadership and adaptations of the Holy Book and prayers. A new holiday and custom rose from this new leadership. The new tradition lasted 2 weeks. In the first week, the country grinds to a halt to enjoy parties, feasts, music, and playful activities. It was named the Great Unburdening, and is now known as the Carnival. It is meant for participants to indulge in excessive alcohol consumption, food, music, culture, and all-around partying. In the second week, the people celebrate through fasting, repentance, and reflection. It is known as the Week of Peace. It is a time of absolute peace and harmony. By decree, no violence or conflict would continue during the Week of Peace. For this entire week, everything is closed. Essentially, the scholars turned peace into a secret holiday, which coincided with the eye cycle every time. The scholars' plan had worked. The country was finally on the right track, and they circumvented the spear's effects through what would become the country's most essential and cherished cultural event. The Purge of Knowledge. If the Week of Peace and Carnival were to succeed, the Order of the Eye needed the population to forget every aspect of limbic invasions. Limbic entities must turn from fact to religious stories, metaphors, and allegories, much like the Eye of God did so long ago. This purposefully imposed amnesia didn't happen overnight. The scholars wanted to wipe out all knowledge of the limbic invasions. This immense task of censorship would fall into the capable hands of a new hand-picked scholars and their trusted full guard. It was impossible to remove everything, but by changing, adjusting, and twisting specific facts, limbic entities become demons, beasts, and mythological creatures as generations passed. Limbic invasions would become stories told by grandfathers to to regale their grandchildren or use as sermons uttered in churches, fear-mongering their followers. Even speaking of limbic entities became a sin. Factual limbic lore fell out of the general population's knowledge. The complexity of the 20th century. The scholars of the Order of the Eye quickly realized they could lose what they had managed to avoid for over 1,000 years. The mere thought of the Eye of God accessing the amount of violence and bloodshed on a global scale terrified them. It was easy to think a nation could have ambitions to dominate the world through the Eye, augmenting its range of influence to cover several countries, if not the entire globe. The 20th century's conflicts were the only things that greatly worried the scholars. From the two global wars, new technologies came to light. The telephone, radio, radar, and other communication advances made the world smaller. Information at large circulated at a higher speed and was transmitted by another new family organization, the international press. The globe also moved at a faster pace. Automobiles, trains, planes, and boats had been developed for the war, but had become commercialized, bringing smaller and remote nations to the world stage. The scholars needed help. Keeping the world outside their country was an impossible task. It was time for the Order of the Eye to seek help from the outside world. Okay. Whew. And now, for more reading, for the final research paper by this woman, Crown of Bones.
Nice find.
Demonologist, bronze trophy achieved. Research item, Crown of Bones. Category, limbic invasions. Oh, gold trophy achieved. Well read. Herver Ravida, the Blood Queen, was infamous for her attempted genocide of Sabinians. During her reign, countless were captured, tortured, and executed in her obsessive pursuit of purity. She seemed to only grow bolder with every execution and was known to keep one finger bone of every heretic that was brought to the Arcaspire. Her collective grew to such a vast size that her royal clothiers began crafting elaborate garments and headdresses with the bones. Creepy.
I wrote a piece on several of the past calamities.
Okay. The Calamities of Hadia, manuscript draft by Tanya Alver, January 1993. The limbic invasions known as calamities by the general population began by attempting to stop the religious wars that had almost wiped out Haitian society. The scholars of the Order of the Eye created the Eminous Shroud device capable of augmenting the Eye of God's emotional dampening effect to reach the entirety of Hadia. It was a success. However, in doing so, the scholars had inadvertently created their hell, cursing Haitians in the cycle of calamities that would span generations. The second calamity. The man who would be king, Lord Astor's ambitions ignites war and betrayal. After the first calamity, silence fell over Hadia. The invaders had been destroyed along with the brutal religious wars. The land was finally healing. In 734, an oligarchy was formed under the watchful gaze of the Order of the Eye. After heated debates in Lublina, power was evenly distributed among four noble houses, two from the Palmist traditionists, House of Aragao and House Umbra, and the two from Sabinian reformists, House Astor, House Jehan. Hadia was divided into four provinces, Argala, Umbrahan, Asteria, and Jehania. The Lublina alliance kept the peace for years, allowing the people to prosper, but one man had grander ambitions. The rise of Lord Astor. House Astor had no interest in the alliance. Lord Astor envisioned himself as Hadia's sole ruler. Working secretly, he strengthened his military, secured his economy, and built alliances. His biggest obstacle was House Jehan, which refused to break from the alliance. Without their support, his conquest seemed impossible. Lord Astor appeared to accept the oligarchy, even arranging a marriage between his daughter Fenelio and Lord Jehan's son Van. The wedding was set in Jelgen, a quiet town near Argala's border, but on the day of the ceremony, Lord Astor disguised his men as Argalian soldiers. They raided the church, massacring the guests. Though Fenello miraculously survived, Van was not so fortunate. Old hatreds reignited. Lord Jehan, consumed by grief, had no doubts blaming House Argao. Lord Astor had what he wanted, a war he couldn't lose. The Second Reformist War. Despite House Argo's pleas of innocence, Lord Jehan declared war. House Jehan and House Astor launched a relentless campaign, committing horrific war crimes and demanding Lord Argo's execution. Meanwhile, House Umbra remained neutral, ignoring Argo's cries for aid. As for reformists tore through Argala, the Order of the Eye scrambled to stop the bloodshed. Too late. They had failed to recognize Lord Astor for what he was, a warmonger. Their worst fears came true. The Eye of God activated. The second calamity had begun. Argala burns. By the time the reformists had nearly forced Argala into surrender, their brutality surpassed even the horrors of the old religious wars. House Jehan's soldiers showed no mercy, claiming vengeance for Van. Then time loops appeared, trapping moments of extreme violence. Soon after, the creatures emerged, attacking everything in sight. Lord Astor was furious. Argala was on the verge of surrender, and now these monsters had ruined his plans to invade Umbrahan. Yet his pride and thirst for the throne blinded him. He ordered Lord Jehan to continue the campaign. Despite the chaos, Lord Jehan, obsessed with revenge, obeyed. But Lord Umbra, watching the carnage unfold, could stand by no longer. He surrendered to Lord Astor, ending the war, crowning him King of Hadia. The Loblina alliance was gone. The noble houses swore fealty to House Astor, uniting under one banner. Armed with limbic weapons, Hadia's warriors systematically destroyed the creatures. Behind the scenes, the Order of the Eye worked tirelessly to close the time loops. The second calamity was stopped. Now all eyes turned to the new king. Disturbing rumors. Rumors spread quickly. King Astor, it was said, was attempting to weaponize the creatures concerned. The Order of the Eye dispatched spies. Every trail led to a dead end, and any captured informants died before revealing secrets. Even under torture, all paths led to whispers of a place known as the Ariga Museum, but its location and true nature remain a mystery. With no other choices, the Order of the Eye ordered King Astor's assassination like a serpent without a head. His kingdom crumbled once again. Hadia needed a heal. The Loblina alliance was revived, and the oligarchy was restored. The third calamity. Love conquers all, even death. The reign of Lady Marageth ends in tragedy. A fragile peace. Following House Astor's downfall, Hadia's noble house signed a new treaty, forming the Second Loblina Alliance. Peace, however, remained tenuous. The Order of the Eye, wary of history's brutal cycles, sought to prevent another disaster. The scholars theorized that violence triggered the emergence of time loops, the strange phenomena responsible for past calamities. Determined to suppress conflict, the Order placed spies in every noble house, urging leaders to renounce violence as a mortal sin. Few embraced the doctrine more fervently than Lady Marguerite of House Argyll. Yeah. Anyway, a woman whose devotion to peace and to her god, Sethris, would ultimately lead to catastrophe. The mother of Argala. Lady Marguerite, revered as the mother of Argala, ruled without personal ambition beyond maintaining peace. Unable to bear children, she saw her subjects as her own, her love for them unwavering but increasingly obsessive. Her reign was defined by two policies, defense and religious decree. She would ensure her people would survive the next calamity no matter the cost. A fortress beneath the earth. Determined to protect Argala, Lady Marguerite diverted the treasury toward massive defensive projects. Walls enclosed every city, town, and village, but fortifications were insufficient. She commissioned an extensive network of underground shelters, calling upon miners and sappers to carve tunnels underneath Hadia. The greatest of these were Umel Caves, a sprawling subterranean city near Trisk, capable of sheltering thousands, complete with schools, storage chambers, refectories, and chapels. The caves were stocked with harvest supplies and designed to seal off with harvest supply are surpluses and designed to seal off completely in time of crisis. Argala was prepared for war, but Lady Marguerite believed faith would be an even greater shield. Overbearing vigilance. Under Lady Marguerite's decree, violence became the greatest sin. All crimes of violence, no matter how severe or trivial, were punished equally. Even minor altercation resulted in imprisonment or execution. The Solazna Watch, secretive watchmen, patrolled Argala, spying on citizens and arresting those deemed at risk of causing violence. Neighbors informed on one another. Fear spread like disease. Argala became a province of silence and paranoia. The rest of Hadia followed Lady Marguerite's example, but the reformist provinces were more measured. Crimes were punished proportionally, and no citizen was encouraged to spy on their peers. The revolt. Years passed. Argala darkened. The people, trapped in fear and austerity, reached a breaking point. In secret, a rebellion formed. Nobles, commoners, and peasants alike meeting within the very underground shelters meant to protect them. Their anger had festered too long. When the revolt erupted, it did with merciless force. The rebels stormed Trisk, their fury unchained. The streets ran red in what would be remembered as Trisk Massacre. The city fell swiftly, but within its walls stood the Dalglav fortress, where Lady Margaret and her loyalists held their ground. The siege began. From atop the ramparts, Lady Margaret watched in horror. Her beloved people, her children, were butchering one another. Overcome with grief, she whispered, "Love conquers all, even death." Then, before anyone could stop her, she took a dagger and slit her own throat. A time loop formed around her, trapping her in an endless cycle of self-destruction, replaying her final tragic moment for eternity. Creatures abound. The Order of the Eye, desperate to prevent disaster, had no time to act. The Eye of God had opened. The third calamity had begun. Time loops spread across Argala, opening in the streets of Trisk. The nightmarish creatures emerged, indiscriminately attacking both rebels and loyalists alike. House Umbra responded first, mobilizing its forces against the chaos. Armed with limbic weapons, their warriors pushed back the monstrous invaders. The Argalian military secured Dalglav fortress, aided by mysterious fighters, as scholars, proto-martyrs, worked frantically to close the time loops. The battles raged, slowly, at significant cost. House Umbra and the surviving Argilan forces eradicated the creatures. Calamity was over. A costly victory. Trisk lay in ruins. Argala had lost its mother. The woman who sought to shield her people from suffering had instead drowned them in it. The scholars, burdened by yet another failure, were left to pick up the pieces. Once again, Hadia would need to heal. The fourth calamity. Hold on a sec here, folks. Had a quick sneeze. Hopefully that's the only one. Alright, the fourth calamity. The betrayer. Hadia's darkest hour unfolds as the heretics' machinists ignite a catastrophe. A kingdom united and fractured. Despite the scars of past calamities, Hadia thrived under King Marcus. The monarchy, established through the decree of holy symmetry, sought to unify the once divided Sabinian reformists and Palmist traditionalists. Under its terms, each ruling monarch would sever ties to their noble house, and the heir would be required to marry someone of the opposite faith. Hope flourished as Marcus Slav of House Umbra ascended the throne alongside Queen Viga, Failure of House Astor. The Loblina alliance was dissolved, replaced by a kingdom where noble lands became duchies and baronies? Okay. Both churches secured positions in court, ensuring religious balance. For a time, it seemed the new order would hold. But one man, raised in the shadow of war, would see it undone. The prodigy turned heretic. Born between the second and third calamities, Francis Aldrich was raised in a strict Palmist household where discipline bordered on cruelty. His parents forced him to kneel before the eye of Sethrus for hours, sometimes days. The symbol loomed in every room. Its omnipresent gaze haunts his childhood. Surviving the third calamity, Francis concluded that the creatures were inevitable, a punishment for humanity's weakness. Resistance, he believed, was futile. Despite his upbringing, Francis excelled in academia, earning a place in a prestigious school secretly operated by the Order of the Eye. His intellect was unmatched, but so was his arrogance. Though the scholars recognized his potential, his hubris kept him from fully entering their ranks. The Order never entrusted him with their most sacred knowledge, their mission to stop the calamities. Suspecting he would soon be cast out, Francis broke into the Forbidden Library. He barely had time to turn a page before the full guard seized him, but in those few moments he ripped out and concealed several pages containing secrets of the time loops and predicted date of the next calamity. Expelled in disgrace, Francis wandered the forests of Umbrahan along with his stolen knowledge. It was there, in the depths of solitude, that he claimed to hear the voice of Tiar. The rise of the servants of Tiar. Hallucinogenic visions led Francis to a revelation. Tiar, the two-headed serpent, was the true god of humanity. Sethrus, he preached, had long abandoned them. The time had come to embrace raw passion, to surrender to desire long suppressed by Palmist and reformist doctrine. At first he was dismissed as a lunatic. Villages drove him away, priests condemned him, and crowds jeered. But he remained steadfast. Tiara was merely testing his faith. Slowly the outcast came to him. The disgraced, rejected, humiliated these persecutors by the Palmist Church. They found solace in his words. Soon the servants of Tiara were born. Their doctrine, a direct affront to the Palmist Church, spread like wildfire. Alarmed, the Church formed the Inquisition of Palm, led by Grand Inquisitor Damien. Tasked with wiping out the cult, the Inquisition swept through Umbrahan, unleashing mock trials, burnings, and brutal purges. The servants of Tiara fled eastward, seeking refuge in reformist lands. Queen Viga's defiance. Unlike the Palmists, the Sabinian reformists tolerated the servants of Tiara. In an act of goodwill, Queen Viga allowed them to settle in Jahania, donating land to build their first shrine, the Sacrament of the Fallen. The decision infuriated the Palmist Church and King Marcus, who saw it as treachery. "You failed to consult me when you created your Inquisition," Queen Viga retorted. Tensions at court escalated. Meanwhile, in the Plains of Mist, that place, the servants of Tiar isolated themselves behind high walls, accepting only traders through a single river checkpoint. Locals grew uneasy. Rumors swirled. Disappearing travelers, unnatural sounds, strange lights at night. The Queen's advisors urged her to investigate. She sent her most trusted diplomat, Lady Sophia Morton, to parley with Francis. It was a journey that ended in horror. The Betrayer's Trap. Sophia never returned. Instead, a single survivor limped back to court, carrying her severed head in a basket. Enraged, Queen Viga ordered an invasion. The Jahanian army, reinforced by the Palmist Inquisition, laid siege to the Sacrament of the Fallen. For weeks, the cultists held the walls with fanatical resolve. Then, without warning, they abandoned their defenses. The army stormed the compound, expecting a final battle. Instead, they found eerie silence. Francis sat on the makeshift throne, serene, smiling. His followers knelt in circles, whispering prayers and singing hymns. The soldiers hesitated, then raised their swords. The cultists grinned and slit their own throats. A time loop ignited. Francis had timed everything perfectly. Another calamity had erupted. Johannian army and Palamas inquisitors fled, scrambling to contain the horrific creatures emerging all around them. But the real horror lay elsewhere. Francis had sent cultists across Hadia to sacrifice themselves simultaneously. Time loops open across the kingdom. Cities, villages, and armies of Hadia found themselves battling monsters on every front. The aftermath? After significant losses, the combined forces of Hadia quelled the fourth calamity, but at an unimaginable cost. Francis, captured alive, was sentenced to a decade of torture before finally dying in a cell. His followers were hunted, his gospel tiara seized by the Inquisition, and his diaries detailing his theories on time loops were archived by the scholars. The betrayer was no more. His legacy scarred Hadia and wounded the scholars. Wounds that would never truly close. The fourth calamity had come and gone. The Order of the Eye would never be the same. The fifth calamity. The Blood Queen, the deadliest calamity in Hadia's history, did not begin with the creatures, but with ambitions, betrayal, and vengeance. Non-interference. The fourth calamity left the Order of the Eye divided. Internal disputes raged over their role in political affairs, but the scholars ultimately agreed their interference had failed. Manipulating kings, swaying the clergy, orchestrating assassinations had proven too volatile, too costly. Instead, they withdrew. Most of their spy network was dismantled, save for a few well-placed informants tasked with observing, not intervening. If another war arose, the scholars would let burn Hadia to the ground. From its ashes, they would rebuild a better world. Long memories. The wounds of war do not heal overnight. In Argala and Umbrahan, reformist communities became scapegoats. Isolated and targeted, they suffered frequent attacks, while Palmist traditionalists, bitter from years of reformist rule, fed the flames of resentment. The high priest of the reformists and the arch-cleric of the Palmists bickered, accusing each of the fueling the unrest. But the conflict escalated when Queen Viga announced she was expecting an heir. Under the decree of holy symmetry, the next king would be a Sabinian reformist, as the monarchy required alternating faiths. This did not sit well with the Palmist Church, which led recently elected hardline traditionalists to its leadership. They would not sit idly by while another reformist ruled Hadia. The Boy King. Years later, King Marcus passed peacefully in his sleep, leaving behind a stable but fragile kingdom. His son Garland ascended the throne. Raised in a Sabinian reformist, Garland was gentle, kind, and forgiving, but lacked the discipline and confidence to lead. His mother, Queen Viga, worried for his future, but she passed before she could see him wed. Alone and vulnerable, Garland turned to his Palmist advisors for guidance. They seized the opportunity. They handpicked his queen. The veteran's pupil. Lady Harver Ravida of Argala was not a typical noblewoman. Raised by her uncle, Thomas Ravida, a veteran of the Fourth Calamity, she was trained as a warrior rather than a lady. Thomas had survived the butchery of the Fallen, one of the bloodiest battles of the Fourth Calamity, and emerged as a hardened Palmist traditionalist. Thomas raised Harver as he would have a son, ensuring she knew how to fight, lead, and survive. Harver was beautiful, but battle-worn, often seen covered in dust, smelling of horse and sweat. The Palmist clergy saw her as a perfect candidate. They whispered into her pious heart, convincing her that Sethras chose her to restore Hadia to Palmist rule. By the time she married King Garland, the coup was already underway. Seed of Hatred. The reconstruction of Argala had left the kingdom financially strained. The late Queen Viga had halted funding. Fearing an economic collapse, her decision left Argala in poverty. As hardship spread, Palmist traditionalists blamed the reformists for their suffering. Hate-filled sermons, nationalist rhetoric, and conspiracies flourished. The Palmists took action. Queen Harver redirected funds to Argala, not for rebuilding, but for strengthening its military. She also funded the construction of her death camps and towers all over Hadia, including the most notorious one, the Arcus Spire. Her uncle, Thomas Ravida, was named Supreme Commander of Hadia's forces. Conscription orders were passed, and Argala and Umbraham began raising an unstoppable army. Meanwhile, reformist communities and Palmist territories suffered segregation, arrests, and attacks. The Order of the Eye watched and did nothing. The Night of the Sharp Daggers. The coup d'etat was swift, brutal, and absolute. Under cover of darkness, Palmist forces stormed the capital, assassinating every reformist noble and high priest in their sleep. By dawn, King Garland, broken and alone, renounced his Sabinian faith, and Palmist held lands. Reformists were arrested, rounded up, and sent to death camps. The Sabinian genocide had begun. Two massive Palmist armies marched into reformist territory. Jehanian fell first, its people unprepared for war. Reformist priests were beaten, burned, and crucified. Asteria resisted. Its warriors had surveyed the fourth calamity. Though outnumbered, they inflicted devastating losses on the Palmist forces. Still, it was only a matter of time. The Palmist army united into one unstoppable force, pushing the reformists into their last stronghold, Los Ilis, the capital of Asteria. The Last Stand. The siege began inside the gates. The Sabinian reformists knew their fate. Rumors of mass executions and extermination camps had reached their ears. They made one final decision. They would die fighting. At dawn, the city gates burst open, starved, desperate, and filled with hatred. Every scholar, every citizen of Lucilius charged the Palmist army in one last stand. The bloodshed was unimaginable. Savagery beyond reason. Then the eye of God opened. Time loops appeared throughout the battlefield, trapped the slaughter of endless repetition, fueling a flood of monstrous creatures. The Palmist army collapsed, and the rest of Hadia, inside the mass execution camps, time loops opened as civilians were being slaughtered for the fifth time. A calamity had struck in Hadia. Tabula Rasa. The scholars were ready. The full guard was unleashed. Time loops were shut down. King Garland and Queen Harver were assassinated. Though Queen Harver's name was erased from history, her legacy drenched in blood remains. Only her Arcus Spire still stands today. Sealed shut as a reminder of the danger of unchecked passions, and whispers in secret circles, Palmists and reformists still remembered, and Hadia never forgets. The war was over. Hundreds of thousands were dead. The monarchy was shattered, and for the first time the Order of the Eye took direct control. A puppet monarchy was installed, ruled by scholars disguised as kings and queens. A new holiday, the Carnival and the Week of Peace, was established to reshape cultural memory and ensure control for over 1,000 years. The calamity ceased. The scholars believed they had won. They were wrong.
There is a vault of forbidden knowledge in Akasa Marshes.
Okay. Time for another trophy. I wonder if I have to re-kill the enemies that I killed yesterday. Oh. 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 I just realized what I did. Here we go. So, okay. I gotta remember this. Usually I have it pause up on the screen. So the first is that, and the last one is the grief. Okay. Circle and square. Alarm of Terror. Heart of the Griffin. This item can be equipped in the loadout tab. Find yourself born anew with health, stamina, and limbic energy fully restored. Antiquarian. Gold trophy achieved. Sword of Grief. Stone Strong. One Axe of Ecstasy. Great Sword of Rage. Parchment Penance. An ancient parchment expressing concern for a contrite colleague found in the Vault of Forbidden Knowledge. I fear Jish, the fifth of its name, has been claimed by madness. No longer can he serve our cause, nor stand among us reason. The poor, wretched soul, like all of us, he has given his life to the burden we bear, to the redemption of our order, and to the salvation of this land, whose people still suffer beneath the weight of our hubris. And so, here we stand. Jish had sealed himself within one of the full guard's armories, muttering ceaseless prayers to the silence that hears him not. Upon a wretched bed of limbic shards of his own devising he lies, flesh torn by the jagged edges, yet he welcomed the pain, calling it his penance. The poor madman, but he always been a bit of a fool. A full fortnight has passed, and still he howls. His voice spills through the small barred window like a spirit unmoored. We bade the guards leave him be, for what solace can chains grant him now? It is weight of our sin. the vastness of our failure. Then he has gnawed his mind to dust, and soon I fear it shall take the rest of us as well. Dix, the sixth of his name. Home, Anson Lingen, the Wandering Mason. A master mason who influentially worked reshaped Hadia. Among the master builders of the Hylian lodges, one stood above all, Anson Lingen, lead architect of the first Lodge of Grief, craftsman of rare genius. His hands shaped sanctuaries of war where stone bare. The weight of sorrow in every carved pattern was a sword against the limbic abyss. While echoing its shapes and colors, yet this discord arose between him and the lodge's elders, and so, turning his back on their halls, he journeyed homeward to Lucilis in the kingdom of Asteria. There, amidst the rising spires and growing townships, he plied his trade anew. Whispers spread swiftly, for a hand that had carved the stronghold of the Hylians could not go unnoticed. The clergy of the Captain Basilica, the grandest Sabinian temple of the south, sought him out in earnest. Fearful of the return of fiendish limbic horrors, they bade him shield their sacred walls with the same sorrowed scripted stone and statues that adorn the lodges of grief. Tome, the Endless Horror. The horrors discovered within the anomalies. Why is it thus? What foul purpose does such an anomaly serve? Within these wretched time aberrations, we find our own countrymen and women ensnared, always at the very heart of the storm, as though condemned by unseen hands to play their parts in some mishap, sordid theater. A scene of unspeakable cruelty is ever the stage. A barbaric slaughter is sole performance, and yet here lies the worst of it. The macabre play does not end. Again and again it unfolds, ceaseless in its encores. The curtain never falls, the agony never wanes. And I am certain, no, I know, that those caught within its wretched snare have not perished, but still live. They feel it all. The anguish, the torment, the breaking of flesh, the sundering of mind, even the twist of pleasures that lurks amidst the pain or the causing of pain. They are alive. Sorry about that. Another sneeze. Breathing, suffering forever. And worst of all, I have seen them look upon me. A woman, her eyes wide with terror, met my gaze, pleading without words, begging me to end it. At least I believe I saw it. For the closer we trend to this infernal tableau, the more of our own flesh burns as if pressed against smoldering coals. The air seethes, the world writhes, and still the nightmare plays on. Sargon. Parchment, a grand stratagem. Discussing the creation of new celebration. Just imagine if they believed it a custom, a tradition, if they thought it a jubilee, a time of joyous revelry, a sacred festival of kin and country. All our poor cherished Hadians, trapped unknowingly within our mistake, could be temporarily saved. They must perform this celebrations each cycle, each time it wakes. Yet they are to know nothing of the real reason, nothing of the true weight of that moment, the most calamitous, the most dreadful instant of all their lives, for all they do know is this: it is the time of their grandest celebration. Exuberance and mirth, followed by a week of solemn peace, and peace above all. is the holiest degree of the most sacred time. From laborer to baron, from beggar to king, none may raise a hand in violence. Truces are sworn and held fast, for it is their most beloved holiday. This rare and precious commemoration gracing them but a handful of times every century, and thus they cherish it all the more. Yet we who know the truth understand it for what it is, the only means in our order's long and harrowing existence to force an artificial halt to it all. Now just imagine if such a grand illusion could be woven upon our people, upon all the souls within our within our precious provinces, if it were to arise not from decree but from belief, so that they themselves embrace it as their own. A custom born not of law, but of faith. A festival heralded by both churches, until its origins faded into mere whispered wonder. And because of this, the celebration itself would never be questioned, never be broken, never be missed. This could serve us well, they pupils of the eye. Well, now there's only one trophy left, and that's just going to end it here. See, the thing is I need to clear the rest of the enemies, so I would need to search all over this map for where enemies would be so I can kill them. And then I need to move on to other places. I'm going to go to one place right quick and do it. So it shouldn't take incredibly long. Wrong analog stick. Alright. I believe it's this one here. Yep. Now, this is not clear. So this one should not take long to clear. Because there's only like... It's a pretty small area, to be honest. Okay, nothing there. There was nothing that I could see. Now there is enemies here, but I don't know if any of them come back to life. Yep. Might have to climb here. There was always an enemy here, but not anymore. Turned off by yours truly, that machine up there. I remember being here. My God, this place was a pain in the ass. There were so many of them, and I kept dying over and over. I remember for the longest time I was looking around and I didn't know there was an open way here. Oh man, that peed me off. I was like, how did I miss this? Oh. As you can see, nothing's coming up there. Go up here. Time loop was here too. Never anything in there. I think there might have been something in here. I could be wrong. I just remember that was a puzzle to get that door open too. And we're back here again. Okay. Then we loop back to the way that we came to go there. I know I could have killed him first, but yeah. Actually, let me go back up there again. Check something right quick. Ah, yes. Sure, this place was empty. And if I remember correctly, this room was infested with them. Alright, so that's pretty much the area. Searched all down there, searched underneath. Can't see anything else. This church is rather small, there's nothing here. Okay. And I searched every nook and cranny up here. Oh, when I go back to the APC, I'm hoping it says cleared. doesn't say cleared. Are you serious? What am I missing? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I could have sworn I searched everything. I don't know what I'm missing, to be honest, but anyway, I'm not going to go around searching more, to be honest. So, the demons that kept coming were basically, I'm just gonna assume that it's aliens because they mentioned it somewhere in the last stream that the aliens are, that they were aliens, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's demons, it's demons." It's so, in other words, for them to keep coming back and attacking the what's the word I'm looking for? Because they keep coming back to attack what's it called? Because they keep coming back to attack um anyway, because they keep coming back to attack I'm trying to think of the name there of that place. Yeah, because humanity couldn't stop, killing each other and being at war, and because they hate each other, like, religions like hated each other and stuff, or certain type of people. Wasn't all a lot of it was religion, but sometimes it wasn't religion. Yeah, I would say it's all religion. It kept rebirthing the, I guess, what you would call the entities. And because it kept rebirthing the entities, the calamities would keep happening over and over and over again because the humans will never learn to live in peace. And because they lived in peace for so long, it caused the calamity to not happen. People who are smart to catch on to this, until it takes like one person to like ruin everything for everybody, to send people in the massacre and whatever whatever else. Yeah. I feel like I've been everywhere, and I'm just not seeing anything. Oh, down here. Yeah, nothing there. Unless they want me to literally enter every single room, and then they're like, yeah, okay, you got everything now. You're good. You can leave. I don't know. Very, very strange. There's nothing here either. Unless there is some hidden room or area that I have not seen here, I'm pretty sure I got everything. But yet the game's just like, well. Yeah. I'm going to go to another location. I'm going to see then if it changes instead of changing here. That still doesn't show it's changed. Yeah, so there's something I'm missing. I don't know what it is. Unless it's not going to tell me cleared. But I mean, oh wait, now this doesn't tell me cleared? This did tell me clear. Threats cleared, threats cleared. Oh yeah, threats clear, yeah. Threats too. Well, that doesn't mean that there's how many there, but it still says that there's threats, but I just don't know where. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go back there, and I'm gonna save it there, and then end it. I am very curious. This is to let anyone know who watches this and goes to play it for the Platinum Trophy. Or 100% in achievements, whatever. Does that creature come back after you kill it? Where are you? Here. You were there. Okay. So it doesn't come back. There's a few things I didn't enter, like these things here. Was this? These. Because there's no enemies in these. So. Anywho. Like I said, I'm just going to end it here. I'm not entirely sure where the enemies would be at. But people could just look it up easily, but it just goes to show that the enemies do not come back after you kill them. Well, they do, and then when you close all the time loops, then they don't come back because that creature was up there throwing things at me, not scaffolding. There was that scaffolding because it then got into that little area here, right? Hold on. Right there. So yeah. I honestly don't know. So, if it is supposed to say clear, threats clear, and it's not for me because I'm missing one, which apparently it is easy to do in this game, then you need to remember, or now that you would know, now you'll know, like, you know, if you go looking around and you can't find someone, and then you try another area to clear, you know, that area, now you know there is something that is, you know, your, what's the word I'm looking for? Like like if you come back into the area, the enemies will not respond that you kill. So you still got to look for that at least one enemy to mark it as clear. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Can't go down there or anything like that, so. So yeah. Could it be glitched? I don't know, maybe. But I didn't see anything mentioned about it being glitched, so. Shrug. I don't know. And I doubt these enemies will come back to life either. Yeah, see. They'll always come back until the end part of the game. Because once you kill them, they're killed for good. Alright. I'm going to do the rest off stream. I was going to do it on stream, but I kind of don't really feel like doing that because it's not really good to watch. But anyway. Well, now you know. If you're going for the full 100% of the game for the trophies or achievements, you know that coming back, the enemies will not respawn. That much that you know. And that I know. So I'm going to have to look it up online to figure out, okay, is there maybe a place that I forgot here, or does it not actually show up as threats clear on the map? And I don't know. Anyway. But anyway, that's it for this game. Man, I can't believe I've been streaming this for almost 2 hours. So yeah. Anyway, this is the last of Hell Is Us. Fitting name for, basically the game is just like, hey, here's all the dark things of humanity. War, murder, rape, like all the dark things. What makes this, what makes Earth hell? Humans. It's basically the sum of it. Makes sense? But not all people were like that, but then some people turned and then got drove to madness and, did that stuff. And then, it caused hatred even though they wouldn't cause violence. But I think the only person in this game maybe that has any kind of non-hatred would maybe be the priest. But even then I'm kind of skeptical of him. He might have dark inner thoughts. But anywho. Well, first game on stream officially completed of 2026. And I started it in December to show off the game as one of the games released in 2025. What would I give this game? Well, a lot of people give this game apparently 7s, no higher than 8s really, apparently. I'm just recalling a page that I seen, not Metacritic, but how you'll see game trailers where they'll have a full-fledged of scores will be 10 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10, stuff like that, posted all around and whatever. For this, it was I seen one put together where it was a bunch of 7s to 8s. And I imagine there was probably something lower than that. And I know I did a lot of bitching and complaining at the beginning of, not the very first stream, but maybe 5 streams in, give or take. But I was making things harder for myself for a challenge. So that's on me. But I will say this, though. Due to the brokenness of this game, where enemies could hit you and hit you and hit you, then all of a sudden you're here, you could be trapped between this tree and this wall, and you can't get out. You have to, this main menu, and then come back into the game by reloading it. It actually happened in this stage. And it was in that fight down there, in that damn courtyard over there. And, over there. And I was stuck between, a guardrail and a, comb. And you would think I could be able to unjust myself to get out of there, but nope, couldn't. And no enemy would kill me either. And I think that happened maybe twice in the game. One for sure there. That was the most memorable one. Then there was another time when I went in Vista Hills where I was walking, and I would just go over like some like rock and debris, and then I was like, oh, I can't get out. I'm stuck. And then like I eventually like unstuck myself, or I got killed and it fixed it for me because I died. So it was one of the two. And stuff like that shouldn't even be. That is so stupid. I wish this game had a jumping mechanic, just so I could be like, hey, now I can get up here because it's only like, like if every game had like a jumping mechanic, then I could jump over the tiniest wall like this wall here, or jump over this, but I can't walk over this. Oh, never mind, I just did. But I wouldn't be able to walk over this. Unless maybe, yeah, but this high part there would block that. But still, I can't just, yeah, I can't get up on this one here. But anyway, you all know what I'm talking about when I say that. So, like, if I could actually jump, like either in Uncharted, even as something simple as Uncharted jumping, I could easily, jump up and climb up over a rock like that. But I understand where the game is like, no, you could do that, but we're not going to allow you to do that. So you're going to have to find the long way around to get to this area over here. So that's what makes the game drawn out a little bit more longer. Because I'm thinking of an area of Vista Hills. So anyway, yeah. On this, now after talking about the game's shortcomings, like the bugs in the game, and whatever, you don't kill humans in the game. You basically just kill the demons or aliens. And so really it's just one type of enemy, and either they're not tied to an emotion, or they are tied to an emotion: the red, the blue, the yellow, or the green, the rage, the grief, the ecstasy, or the fear. And then the boss fight, there was really only technically one, two, three, four, five, six boss fights? I don't know. I would really only count it as two boss fights, really. Because when you get to the top of the spire to close the time loop, it bits you into a boss fight because there is a boss fight type like meter on the screen that you have to kill and it's none of those creatures, it's actually the emotion. And the very first one you do, or you can do, is the green one, which I did. And I remember having a hard time with that. And then when I beefed up my weapon and put some defensive stuff on me, that thing, I think it might have killed me one or two times or something like that. And then I eventually got it, but it became a joke. I was able to actually kill it. So it was a bit challenging. It was challenging for my weaker. Like, I did have my weapon upgraded, but not to the full amount that I was able to have it at. And with the relics, not the relics, but the shards there that give me certain powers for my weapons. That is what made the difference. That is what saved me. Could you do it without that stuff? Yeah, And also me not timing my, because I forgot how to get my the health back into the meter after doing some damage and that. So all that definitely helped. And I didn't learn. Yeah, that's my fault. I kept saying, "Yeah, I'll learn this for the next stream," and I never did. And then I finally broke down and finally did it, and it made things a hell of a lot better. I still die, yes, but anyway, uh, I didn't even use any healing items. I mean, there's like no real reason to, because I mean, sometimes things stay dead, sometimes things don't. Sometimes, and then some enemies that I was going up against, like if I had myself more powerful, then they wouldn't have been as powerful to kill me as much as they did. I mean, being at an enemy for an hour, or maybe even a little longer than that, without killing it, and keep dying to it, it's embarrassing. It sucks. Because I was hindering myself from that. So I was like, yeah, I'm changing this. And then the second boss technically would be the ecstasy, when like you kill enough of them that the things on the map end up coming up as turrets, firing things at you, and you had to destroy them all. And then every time you took down the things there, those things on the map would like turn into turrets, and you had to break them all, and then finally end up killing the ecstasy emotion. Now I say killing the ecstasy emotion, even though they still appeared afterwards. It's still, but it was acting as a boss because it had the boss like meter. The big, huge, tall demons, aliens, or whatever at the end of the game, they had like extreme health bars, but like they weren't big boss size like those the motions for those two fights I just mentioned. I don't know if I would consider them bosses, as there was 4 of them, each of them with their own, whatever you call it. But the thing is that they took a lot longer to kill because their health bar was bigger. But because it didn't give me the big bar, it just felt like more incredibly the most powerful enemies in the game that were not bosses. That's how it felt like to me. So whether you want to count it as a boss or not, I don't know. That's up to you. But for me, it felt like a boss-ish, but not. And the only other gripe that I have is the sudden ending. He was like, yeah, did he lie? And he goes, yeah, about all of it. And then takes the gun, shoots the guy in the back of the head. And then he falls to the ground and he's still alive. And then she puts another 1 or 2 in him. And I'm like, yeah, too bad I couldn't get to do that, because that would have been awesome. And he said that, oh yeah, these people talked and all this stuff. And I don't know how he didn't notice it was that woman that was with him the whole entire time that was with me. I don't quite understand that. Like, how did she get past all those people? And it looked like it was the woman that had the eye patch. So if it was that woman, which I'm like 95% sure it was, if it was that woman, why did she said she went blind in that eye, but when you looked at her, she looked fine. I didn't quite understand that, unless she lied. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know. But apparently, then she mentions, "Oh yeah, this person's waiting for us," and then you like go to like run out of the room, and then the game just ends. And I'm like, okay, so I guess your mom's still alive. That woman that's in the APC right now, still alive. But where is that place at? Where is that location? Like, I know some people are going to be like, who cares? That's not the point. It doesn't matter. But how did she get past? How did she get to where she was to help you out of that room? How was she able to, like, I'm assuming, because after, like, the ending, when you go through the door, you're meted with, like, an army of people. You hear them, but you don't see them because of the bright light. And he's there, the guy that's in the interrogation with you. I believe he was the one that's out there talking to, like, put your hands up and surrender or something, I think. I could be wrong. So, say if there is an army of those people, why in God's name is it that she goes and kills him and then you go to run out of there and that's it? And just leave it like that? That is a terrible way to end it. Unless the company was like, they felt so sure that the game was going to sell and then they were going to do DLC and stuff, and then all of a sudden they were like, yeah, our game didn't do all that well in sales or, like, reviews. Like, or as the kids say these days, the game's mid. No, my opinion is the game mid? No. But I do appreciate the Souls-like battle-like system, you know, with the health and the, you know, stamina bar. Though I hate how that kind of works because stamina bar always is tied with that. The way to get the health back in this game, I don't mind that. That's a unique way of doing things. And the game gives like a very creepy presence, like, whoa, like, what happened here, like, what is everything? And as you learn the mystery and learn the game's lore as things go on, it becomes very interesting to learn how everything came to be, how everything happened, things in the past, you know, with how these demons, as they call them, aliens, would, like, appear, the calamities. So it is very interesting. So the way I look at this game is it's a light Souls like in a I want to say modern setting, but this game takes place in 1993. So is it modern? No, but it's about as modern as you get, unless you compare it to, say, something like The Search, because that is more modern. Or takes a little bit, or The Search takes place a little bit into the future from, like, the year 2026. It could be like 2030 for all I know. I don't know. But I just know that that's more modern than this game. And they use made-up places with real world problems of today. And I kind of like that for a story. Because not everything needs to be castles and stone walls and hideous looking demons, like in the Souls games and stuff like that. As much as I appreciate those games like Bloodborne and Demon Souls for sure, at the end of the day, it's kind of nice to where it's wind down to where it's like, here's homes, here's villages, here's towns. It would be nice if, like you are in a city, but technically you see buildings, like, I guess, in the background and stuff, kind of, if I remember correctly, for the library stage and stuff like that. But you're not roaming around it as a city, just like a town. That's it, really. 2 towns in the game, really. And then you go like countrysides like this and whatever. I think that's pretty cool. I guess you could say the same thing for like Bloodborne, but like it's like an old effect, like old timey homes and whatever. Where this is not really old timey homes. Like the homes that you see in this game is pretty much the kind of homes that still exist today. So that's why I was saying it feels more, you know, not old school effect, more modern stuff like that. In the sense, um, even though you could, you know, even still like maybe some of the stone church, like the churches and mausoleums or whatever, in like Bloodborne and those games or whatever. I guess you could always, say stuff about it, but this just feels a little more realistic than those games. Not realism, but more down to earth, I guess you could say. But anyway, on a score out of 10, I would probably give this game an 8. I would probably give this game like an 8 out of 10. I don't like how the game is abruptly ended, and I'll never be able to find out like it's obviously going to be like more of this stuff is going to happen obviously as time progresses, because obviously people still hate each other, tensions are still high in the game, but and you're playing like the peacekeeper almost in a sense, basically, because you don't kill any humans in the game. You can't. But as I was saying, the bugs, the way the game ended, is why the game I'm giving the game an 8. The sound in this game and the music and whatever, eerie, whatever, is it memorable? No, but a lot of games don't have memorable music. Certain games do, but I mean they're far in between for a lot of people. So I'm not gonna knock it for that. But I mean, when you're playing the game, like this eerie like music, the organ music is fitting for this area. So the sounds and if there is any music, it is warranted for the areas that it plays in. Like it's fitting. So it's not bad. But anyway. So yeah, like I said, 8 out of 10. Abrupt ending doesn't really explain like how, they were able to get in there to save you and be able to get out of there. And you would think if there's an army of people, they could just easily go and just be like, woman's dead, your mom's dead, and from there. I don't quite understand that. I really don't. And I'm kind of curious of why the guy looked like that. Like he was pale white / gray. And he didn't look human himself. So I don't know. Maybe there's something more to him than that. I don't know. But anyway. But that's it for this game. I'm not sure what my next game is going to be, but stay tuned. I hope everyone's enjoyed this playthrough. Like I said, good game. There was times where I'm like, I'm so done with this game, like I can't wait for it to be over. That's because I was angry and frustrated. So, yeah. So now I'm going to do the rest of it offline and for the platinum. But I got to look up, why, if it does indeed say that if it is cleared. Anybody can do that. So anybody who's watching this who is a trophy achievement hunter, you're going to have to look that up to figure out if, like, it does tell you if the area is truly cleared of enemies or not. Threat, I should say. Alrighty. Thanks for watching, everyone. And I will see you for the next video game. See you.